Ambassador Kang Daeho walked slowly down the long hallway that led to the council chamber. His black diplomatic robes felt heavy on his shoulders. The silver seal of the Interstellar Dominion sat on his chest like a weight. He had worn it for 20 years, but today it felt different. Today it felt like a chain. The council chamber on Nexus Prime was huge. 12 different alien species sat in a circle around the center floor. Each group had their own special seats made for their strange bodies. The Zephyrians sat highest because they ruled the Dominion. Their leader, Hegemarch Vorthak, looked down at everyone else from his golden throne. Daeho walked to the center of the room. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Behind him came 3 other humans. Admiral Park Mira stood straight in her blue uniform. Dr. Yoon Taemin carried a data pad with research notes. Captain Lee Sujin watched everything with sharp eyes. "The human delegation requests permission to speak," Daeho said in a clear voice. Vorthak made a sound like a laugh. His long neck curved as he looked down. "Speak quickly, little human. We have important matters to discuss after you leave." Daeho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his face calm. "Honored Council, humanity has served the Dominion for 50 years. We have given our ships, our soldiers, and our science to help the Dominion grow strong. Today we ask for full membership in this council." The alien representatives began to make strange noises. Some clicked their claws. Others buzzed their wings. The Zephyrians made hissing sounds that passed for laughter. "Full membership?" Vorthak's voice was full of shock. "You think you deserve to sit with your betters?" "We think we deserve to sit with our equals," Daeho replied. The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Admiral Park Mira stepped forward slightly. Her hand moved toward her weapon, but Daeho raised his hand to stop her. Dr. Yoon Taemin stepped forward. "If I may show the Council our contributions to Dominion science," he activated his data pad. Holographic images filled the air above them. "Human medicine has cured 3 diseases that killed millions of Dominion citizens," Taemin said. "Human engineering improved your ships by 40%. Human soldiers died protecting Dominion colonies on 6 different worlds." "Lies," screamed a bug-like alien from the Hive Collective. "Humans steal our ideas and claim them as their own." "Impossible," said Vorthak. "Humans are too primitive to create such things. You must have stolen these advances from your betters." Daeho felt something break inside him. 20 years of insults. 20 years of being treated like a child. 20 years of watching his people work harder than anyone else for less respect than animals received. "We have proof of our work," he said quietly. "Proof can be faked," Vorthak replied. "Everyone knows humans are liars and thieves." Captain Lee Sujin took a step forward. Her eyes were burning with anger. "Sir," she whispered to Daeho, "let me show them what humans can do." "No," Daeho said softly. "Not yet." Vorthak stood up from his throne. He was 3 meters tall and covered in golden scales. "I grow tired of this foolishness. The Council will now vote on new restrictions for human colonies." "Restrictions?" Admiral Park Mira asked. "Humans will be limited to 3 star systems," announced a purple alien with 6 arms. "All other human colonies will be relocated." "Furthermore," added Vorthak, "humans will pay tribute to the Dominion for protection services. 50% of all human production will go to the Council." "That's slavery," Dr. Taemin said. "That's reality," Vorthak replied. "Know your place, little humans." The Council began to vote. One by one, each alien species raised their hands or claws or tentacles. 12 votes for the new restrictions. 0 votes against. Daeho stood in the center of the chamber. Around him, the aliens were celebrating their victory. They thought they had put the humans in their place forever. But something had changed in Daeho's mind. He remembered his grandfather's stories about the old days on Earth. Stories about people who refused to bow down to those who called themselves masters. Stories about freedom. Slowly, Daeho reached up to his chest. His fingers found the silver seal of the Dominion, the symbol that marked him as a junior member of this great alliance. The symbol that showed he accepted his place beneath these beings who called themselves his betters. He pulled the seal from his robes. The chamber fell silent. Every alien eye watched as Daeho held the seal high above his head. "This seal represents membership in the Interstellar Dominion," he said. His voice carried to every corner of the huge room. "For 50 years, humans have worn it with pride. We believed it meant we belonged to something greater than ourselves." He walked to Vorthak's throne and placed the seal on the golden steps. "Today we learned what it really means. It means we accept that others are better than us. It means we agree to be slaves wearing pretty chains. Fourth Act leaned forward. What are you doing, human? I am resigning from the Interstellar Dominion, Deho said. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from this alliance. We refuse to accept your restrictions. We refuse to pay your tribute. We refuse to accept that anyone in this galaxy is better than us simply because they were born different. The chamber exploded in angry roars and screeches. Aliens jumped from their seats. Some reached for weapons. Fourth Act's golden scales turned dark red with rage. You cannot leave, he screamed. You are bound by treaty. Treaties work both ways, Admiral Park Mira said, stepping beside Deho. You broke your promise to treat us fairly. That makes the treaty void. You will die without our protection, shouted the bug-like alien. We will find out, Dr. Taman said, joining the group. Captain Lee Sujin drew her weapon, not to attack, but to show she was ready to defend the others. We're not afraid of you anymore. Deho looked around the chamber one last time, at the aliens who had treated his people like servants for 50 years, at the beings who thought they owned the galaxy because they had ruled it before humans learned to fly. Goodbye, he said simply. The four humans turned and walked toward the exit. Behind them, the aliens screamed threats and promises of punishment. They promised to hunt humans across the galaxy. They promised to destroy every human colony. They promised to make humanity pay for this insult. Deho didn't look back. He had work to do. Outside the council chamber, Admiral Park Mira activated her communication device. All units, this is Admiral Park. Execute Protocol 7 immediately. Begin evacuation of all human populations from Dominion space. Authorization Deho 77 Alpha. Across the galaxy, human ships began to move. Colony transports lifted off from alien worlds. Military vessels took protective positions. Deep space stations powered up their engines. The exodus had begun. Dr. Taman smiled as they walked toward their ship. They have no idea what we're really capable of, do they? No, said Captain Lee Sujin. They're about to find out. Deho felt lighter than he had in years. The weight of the Dominion seal was gone from his chest. The weight of accepting inferiority was gone from his shoulders. Admiral, he said to Park Mira, set course for human space. It's time to show the galaxy what free humans can accomplish. Behind them, the Dominion Council was still arguing about how to punish the rebellious humans. They thought this was a tantrum that would end when humans realized they couldn't survive alone. They were wrong about many things, but they were most wrong about what humans could accomplish when they stopped accepting limits that others tried to place on them. The stars waited for humanity to claim their birthright, and humanity was finally ready to reach for them. 3 months had passed since Ambassador Kang Deho placed the Dominion seal on Vorthak's throne steps. The galaxy was changing, but most aliens didn't understand how much. Captain Lee Sujin crouched behind a metal crate on colony world Zeta 7. Around her, 23 human families waited in the darkness. They had been farming this world for 15 years, but tonight they were leaving forever. Transport ships will arrive in 10 minutes, she whispered into her radio. All families ready for pickup. Above them, 3 Dominion patrol ships circled the colony. The alien crews thought they were watching for human resistance. They had no idea that 2,000 humans were about to vanish from under their noses. Sujin checked her watch. 3 minutes early, she heard the soft hum of human transport ships. They came in low and fast, using the hills to hide from the patrol ships. The alien sensors were designed to spot big military vessels, not small, quick transports. Move now, Sujin ordered. Quiet and fast. The families ran across the open ground to the landing ships. Children carried small bags with their favorite toys. Parents grabbed years of memories packed into single boxes. In 4 minutes, every human on Zeta 7 was gone. The transport ships lifted off just as silently as they had arrived. By the time the Dominion patrols realized something was wrong, the humans were already jumping to hyperspace. Sujin smiled as her ship escaped. This was the 47th colony she had evacuated. 0 humans captured, 0 shots fired. The aliens still had no idea how fast humans could move when they needed to. Back on Earth, engineer Ko Jinwoo stood in the biggest construction bay humanity had ever built. Around him, workers put together the first ships of a new class. Ships designed by humans for humans, using ideas the Dominion had never imagined. The armor is 30% lighter than Dominion standard, Jinwoo explained to Admiral Park Mira. But it's twice as strong. Human metallurgy is better than theirs. Park Mira ran her hand along the ship's hull. It felt smooth and warm, not like the cold metal of alien ships. What about speed? 50% faster than anything in the Dominion fleet, Jinwoo said with pride. And that's just the beginning. Wait until you see what we did with the weapon systems. Park Mira had been a ship captain for 20 years. She knew good engineering when she saw it. These ships were beautiful, deadly, and completely human. How many can we build? We have materials for 500 ships in the first batch, Jinwoo replied. But we're also building new construction facilities. In 6 months, we'll be making ships faster than the Dominion ever could. Dr. Yoon Taemin watched the construction from an observation deck above. He was holding a data pad with information that would shock the galaxy, information about what humans were really capable of. The genetic analysis is complete, he told his assistant, Dr. Choi Hyun-woo. We're not inferior to the Dominion species. We're different, and in many ways, we're superior. Choi Hyun-woo looked at the data. The Zephyrians are stronger, but they can only survive in perfect conditions. Humans can live almost anywhere. The Hive Collective has better memory, but they can't think as individuals, Taemin continued. Humans can work alone or together, whatever the situation needs. And the radiation resistance? Choi asked. Off the charts, Taemin smiled. Humans can live on worlds that would kill most aliens in hours. We evolved on a dangerous planet. That made us tough. Across the galaxy, Admiral Park Mira's fleets were proving just how tough humans could be. The Dominion had sent Battle Group 7 to stop human ships from evacuating colonies. It was supposed to be an easy mission. The aliens had 12 heavy cruisers against 3 human destroyers. The battle lasted 8 minutes. Admiral Park Mira watched from the bridge of her flagship as the alien ships tried to catch her vessels. The Dominion cruisers were bigger and had more weapons, but they moved like floating mountains. Human ships danced around them like angry wasps. Target their engines, she ordered. Disable, don't destroy. We're not murderers. The human ships moved in patterns the aliens couldn't predict. They attacked from 3 directions at once, then vanished before the enemy could respond. When the alien ships tried to turn, human vessels were already behind them. One by one, the Dominion cruisers lost power and drifted helplessly in space. The human fleet surrounded them but didn't fire killing shots. Attention Dominion vessels, Park Mira broadcast. Your ships are disabled but intact. Your crews are safe. We will send rescue beacons with your location to Dominion Command. Leave human space and don't come back. On the bridge of the lead Zephyrian cruiser, Commander Wythek stared at his screens in confusion. His ships had been destroyed without a single death. The humans could have killed everyone, but they chose not to. How did they move so fast? His weapons officer asked. How did they know exactly where to hit us? Added his navigator. Ethik had no answers. In the Dominion military, battles were about size and power. Bigger ships with more weapons always won. But humans fought differently. They used speed, surprise, and precision instead of brute force. Send a message to command, Ithik ordered. Tell them we need to study human tactics. We don't understand how they fight. Back on Earth, Colonel An Soo-young was training the next generation of human soldiers. But these weren't soldiers for fighting the Dominion. They were soldiers for exploring the unknown regions of space where humanity would build their new home. The galaxy is bigger than the Dominion ever told us, she explained to her troops. There are thousands of star systems they marked as impossible to colonize or not worth the effort. We're going to find out if they were right. Her soldiers were different from Dominion troops. They trained for survival in any environment. They learned to think for themselves instead of just following orders. They practiced working with minimal supplies and no support. Remember, Soo-young told them, we're not running away from the Dominion. We're running toward our future, and our future is bigger than they ever imagined. Dr. Choi Hyun-woo stood in his laboratory, looking at a machine that would change everything. After months of work, he had solved a problem that had puzzled the best Dominion scientist for centuries. The quantum field generator is stable, he reported to Dr. Taemin. We can create artificial gravity wells without using massive amounts of energy. Taemin stared at the readings. This means faster-than-light travel could be improved by a factor of 10. Maybe more. It means human ships will be able to go places the Dominion never dreamed of reaching, Choi said. In his office, Ambassador Kang Dae-ho read reports from across human space. Every day brought new successes. Every day proved that leaving the Dominion was the right choice. Captain Lee Sujin had evacuated 49 colonies without losing a single person. Engineer Ko Jinwoo's shipyards were producing vessels that amazed everyone who saw them. Admiral Park Mira's fleets had won every battle without becoming killers. But the most important report came from explorer Lim Jae-hyun, who was leading scouting missions into the unknown regions of space. "We found it," Jae-hyun's message said. "A cluster of star systems that the Dominion never explored. Dozens of worlds that can support human life. Some are challenging, but that's never stopped us before." Daeho smiled as he read the coordinates. The Dominion thought they were driving humanity into empty space to die. Instead, they were giving humans access to parts of the galaxy that were rich with opportunity. On Nexus Prime, Hegemarch Vorthak paced angrily in his throne room. For 3 months, he had been trying to capture and punish the rebellious humans. For 3 months, he had failed completely. "How many humans have we caught?" he demanded. "None, Hegemarch," his aide replied nervously. "They evacuate entire colonies faster than we can respond. By the time our ships arrive, the humans are gone. And our battles with their military? We have not won a single engagement, Hegemarch. Their ships are too fast and their tactics are unlike anything we've seen before." Vorthak smashed his fist against the wall. "They are just humans. They are supposed to be weak and stupid." But deep down, Vorthak was beginning to wonder if the Dominion had been wrong about humans from the very beginning. Maybe the real question wasn't why humans thought they deserved equality. Maybe the real question was why the Dominion had ever thought they could keep humans as servants. In the depths of space, the last human transport ship jumped away from Dominion territory. Captain Lee Sujin watched the stars shift as they entered hyperspace. Behind them lay 50 years of being told they weren't good enough. Ahead lay the infinite possibilities of a galaxy where humans would make their own rules. All human civilians are now clear of Dominion space, she reported to Admiral Park Mira. "Operation Exodus is complete." "Outstanding work, Captain," Park Mira replied. "Now the real adventure begins. Humanity was free, and the galaxy would never be the same." Explorer Lim Jae-hyun stood on the bridge of his scout ship, staring at a world that shouldn't exist. According to Dominion records, this planet was uninhabitable. The radiation levels were too high. The storms were too violent. The temperature swings were too extreme. But as Jae-hyun watched through his view screen, he saw something the aliens had missed. The planet was beautiful. "Radiation levels are within human tolerance," reported his science officer. "The storms follow predictable patterns. The mineral deposits are incredible. The Dominion marked this as Death World Sigma 12, Jae-hyun said with a smile. "I think we'll call it New Haven." This was the 19th world his team had found in 6 months. 19 planets that the Dominion had written off as worthless. 19 new homes for humanity. Back on New Haven's surface, Director Shin Yoonji supervised the construction of humanity's newest colony. Around her, prefabricated buildings rose from the rocky ground. Humans in environmental suits worked calmly in conditions that would terrify most aliens. "The geothermal power plant will be online in 3 days," her chief engineer reported. "The radiation shielding is holding perfectly." "What about the storm shelters?" Yoonji asked. "Built to withstand Category 9 storms," the engineer replied proudly. "Though honestly, after what our people survived on Earth, these storms seem pretty mild." Yoonji nodded. Humans had evolved on a world with hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, and ice ages. A little radiation and some strong winds weren't going to stop them from building new homes. "Population report?" she asked her assistant. 50,000 colonists arrived yesterday. Another 100,000 are scheduled for next month. "People are volunteering faster than we can transport them." Yoonji looked at the bustling construction site. 6 months ago, this world was empty. Now it was becoming a city that would house millions of humans. The aliens thought they had driven humanity into wasteland. Instead, they had given humans access to resources the Dominion never knew existed. On the other side of human space, Commander Nam Dongwoo received an urgent message from his long-range sensors. Dominion ships were approaching the Kepler colony system. "How many vessels?" he asked his communications officer. 37 ships, sir. Led by Hegemarch Vorthak himself. Dongwoo smiled grimly. Vorthak had come to teach the humans a lesson. Instead, he was about to learn one. "Alert all defense units," Dongwoo ordered. "Execute Plan Thunderstorm." The Kepler system looked empty when Vorthak's fleet arrived. The Hegemarch stood on his command bridge, confident that this time he would crush the human rebels. His ships outnumbered the local human defenders by more than 3-1. Scan for human vessels, Vorthak commanded. I detect 12 human ships hiding behind the fourth planet, his sensor operator reported. They appear to be mining vessels with light weapons. Pathetic, Vorthak sneered. Human cowardice shows itself again. All ships attack formation. We will destroy them quickly and move on to the colony itself. But as the Dominion fleet approached the fourth planet, space around them suddenly came alive with human ships. They appeared from behind asteroids, from the shadow of moons, from places the alien sensors had never thought to look. The 12 mining vessels were actually combat ships disguised to look weak. The asteroid field that seemed empty was full of hidden weapons platforms. The abandoned space station was actually a command center, controlling a network of automated defenses. Commander Nam Dongwu's voice echoed across all channels. Attention, Dominion fleet. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and you will be allowed to leave safely. Vorthak couldn't believe what his sensors were showing him. The humans had somehow hidden an entire battle fleet in a system that looked nearly empty. How was that possible? Impossible, he roared. Our sensors are the best in the galaxy. Your sensors look for what you expect to find, Dongwu replied calmly. You never learn to look for what you don't expect. The battle that followed became known as the Lesson at Kepler. Human ships attacked from every direction, using tactics the Dominion had never seen. They used the asteroid field as cover and weapons. They turned the system's radiation fields into shields. They made the very environment their ally. Vorthak's massive flagship found itself surrounded by small, fast human vessels that struck like lightning and vanished before he could respond. His weapons were designed to fight other big ships in open space. Against opponents who refused to fight that way, his superior firepower was useless. One by one, his ships lost power and drifted helplessly. The humans could have destroyed them all, but once again they chose to disable rather than kill. Your fleet is defeated, Dongwu announced. Take your ships and leave. Tell the Dominion that human space is protected. If you come in peace, you are welcome. If you come for war, you will lose. Vorthak's golden scales had turned pale with shock and humiliation. In all his years of military service, he had never been defeated so completely. The primitive humans had made his elite fleet look like children playing with toys. As his damaged ships limped away from Kepler, Vorthak finally understood what the Dominion had really lost when they drove humanity away. They hadn't lost servants. They had lost equals. Maybe even superiors. Dr. Yun Taemin stood in his laboratory on Earth, looking at data that would change how the galaxy understood physics. For months, his team had been working on problems that had puzzled alien scientists for centuries. Today, they had found answers. The quantum field equations are solved, Dr. Choi Hyunwoo reported excitedly. We can create stable wormholes for instant travel across galactic distances. And the energy requirements? Taemin asked. A fraction of what current Dominion technology needs, Choi replied. Human innovations in fusion power make it possible. Taemin stared at the equations on his screen. The Dominion's greatest minds had spent hundreds of years trying to solve these problems. Humans had done it in months. Not because they were smarter, but because they thought differently. Start construction of the prototype, he ordered, but keep it secret for now. This technology could change the balance of power in the galaxy. On the edge of human space, engineer Ko Jinwoo was building something even more impressive than individual ships. He was building an entire fleet of vessels that would make the Dominion's navy look ancient. The new destroyer. Class is ready for testing, he told Admiral Park Mira as they walked through his construction facility. Faster, stronger, and smarter than anything the galaxy has seen. Smarter? Park Mira asked. Each ship has an artificial intelligence designed by humans, Jinwoo explained. Not just a computer that follows orders, but a true thinking partner for the crew. The AI can predict enemy movements, suggest tactics, and even operate the ship independently if needed. Park Mira looked at the sleek vessels taking shape in the construction bays. They didn't look like alien ships. They were uniquely human in their design, built for speed and intelligence rather than just size and power. The Dominion builds ships like fortresses, Jinwoo continued. Slow, heavily armored, designed to overwhelm enemies with brute force. We build ships like hunting cats, fast, smart, and deadly when they need to be. How many can we build? Park Mira asked. The first 100 will be ready in 3 months, Jinwoo replied. After that, we can produce 50 ships per month. And each new ship will be better than the last. Intelligence Chief Wan Minji sat in her office reading reports that made her smile. Her spy networks had been busy gathering information from inside Dominion space. The news was better than she had hoped. The Hive Collective is asking questions about human independence, one report said. Their leaders want to know how humans escaped Dominion control so easily. 3 minor species have sent secret messages asking for meetings with human representatives, said another. They want to discuss mutual cooperation opportunities. But the most interesting report came from deep inside Zephyrian space. Hegemarch Vorthak has been replaced as military commander after his defeat at Kepler. The new commander is requesting detailed analysis of human military capabilities. They're scared. Minji forwarded the reports to Ambassador Kang Daeho. The Dominion wasn't just losing its control over humanity, it was losing control over the galaxy itself. Explorer Lim Jae-hyun returned to Earth with news that would excite every human in the galaxy. His deep space missions had discovered something incredible. We found them, he reported to the Human Council. The ruins of an ancient civilization. They built cities on worlds the Dominion considered impossible to inhabit. And they left behind technology that's centuries ahead of anything we've seen. Are they still alive? Asked Ambassador Daeho. No, Jae-hyun replied. But they left libraries, star maps, scientific data, and something else. Messages warning about a force that destroyed their civilization. A force that's still out there. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had found evidence of an advanced civilization that had been destroyed by something the Dominion didn't know about. Something that might threaten the entire galaxy. What do the messages say about this threat? Dr. Taman asked. They call it the silence, Jae-hyun replied. Something that moves between galaxies, destroying all life it encounters. The ancient civilization fought it for 1,000 years before they lost. Ambassador Daeho stood up slowly. How long ago was this civilization destroyed? Admiral Bae Sung-ho stood on the bridge of the HSS Liberation, humanity's newest and most advanced battleship. Around him, the screen showed the positions of 300 human vessels spread across a dozen star systems. 1 year ago, humanity had been refugees fleeing Dominion space. Today, they commanded the most powerful fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Long-range sensors detect Dominion forces massing at the border, his tactical officer reported. Looks like they're finally ready to try a full invasion. Sung-ho nodded calmly. Intelligence Chief Wan Minji had warned him this was coming. The Dominion Council had voted to declare all human territory unlawfully occupied and authorized military action to restore order. How many ships? He asked. 800 vessels from 6 different species, came the reply.
The largest fleet in Dominion history, Sung-ho smiled.
The aliens still thought this was about numbers. They had never understood that humans fought with their minds, not just their ships. Send a message to General Oh Kyung-min, he ordered. Tell him the Dominion is about to learn why you should never corner a predator. In her command center deep beneath New Taipei, Intelligence Chief Wan Minji watched data streams from across the galaxy. Her spy networks had grown far beyond what the Dominion imagined. Humans had always been good at making friends, and in the past year, many non-Dominion species had decided they preferred human friendship to Dominion rule. Report from the Hive Collective, her aide announced. 3 of their border colonies have declared independence and requested human protection. And the Crystalline Federation? Minji asked. They've withdrawn from the Dominion Council. They're claiming neutrality, but they're allowing human ships to refuel at their stations. Minji marked the updates on her tactical display. The Dominion wasn't just losing a war with humanity. They were losing control of the galaxy itself. Species that had been loyal for centuries were starting to ask why they needed Dominion protection, when humans seemed perfectly capable of protecting themselves. Most interesting development? She asked. Internal communications from Zephyrian Command, her aide replied with a grin. They're arguing about whether to attack human space or focus on keeping their remaining allies from leaving. On the bridge of his flagship, Hegemarch Vorthak stared at reports that made his golden scales turn pale. In the past year, 5 species had left the Dominion. 12 more were openly questioning Council authority. And worst of all, human ships were now patrolling space that had belonged to the Dominion for centuries. How did this happen? He demanded of his advisors. The humans offer mutual defense pacts instead of demanding tribute, one aide replied nervously. They share technology freely instead of keeping it secret. They treat their allies as equals. And they've never lost a battle, added another aide. Every species that allies with them feels safer than they did under Dominion protection. Vorthak slammed his fist on the command table. Then we will show them what real power looks like. Launch the invasion! 800 ships against their pitiful few hundred. We will crush them and show the galaxy who truly rules. But as the massive Dominion fleet entered human space, they found something they hadn't expected. The humans were waiting for them. General Oh Kyungmin watched from his command ship as Dominion forces spread across 3 different systems. The aliens were using classic Dominion tactics. Overwhelming force applied directly to enemy positions. It had worked for them for centuries. It was about to stop working. All units execute Plan Tsunami, he ordered. Across human space, the response was immediate and devastating. The few hundred human ships the Dominion expected to face suddenly became thousands as automated defense platforms activated. Stealth ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields and gas clouds revealed themselves. Allied vessels from a dozen non-Dominion species jumped in to support their human friends. But the real surprise came from the planets themselves. The Dominion had always thought of planets as targets to be protected. Humans had turned their worlds into weapons. On New Haven, Director Shin Yunji activated the planetary defense grid she had been secretly building for months. Massive railguns emerged from hidden bunkers. Energy cannons powered by the planet's geothermal grid came online. Orbital platforms that looked like civilian space stations revealed their true nature as military fortresses. Fire, at will, she ordered calmly. The Dominion fleet attacking New Haven found themselves facing not just human ships but an entire militarized star system. Every asteroid had been fitted with weapons. Every moon had become a fortress. The humans had turned their colonies into death traps for any invader. Admiral Bae Sung-ho's fleet hit the main Dominion force like a hurricane. But this wasn't the kind of battle the aliens expected. Instead of meeting them head-on, human ships scattered in all directions, then attacked from angles the Dominion hadn't thought to defend. Target their command ships, Sung-ho ordered. Cut off their coordination. Human vessels moved through the Dominion formation like sharks through a school of fish. They struck at communication arrays, command bridges, and sensor stations. Within minutes, the massive alien fleet was blind, deaf, and leaderless. Vorthak watched in horror as his carefully planned invasion turned into chaos. His ships couldn't communicate with each other. His sensors showed enemy contacts everywhere, but when his weapons fired, the humans were already gone. How are they moving so fast? His weapons officer cried. Their ships are half the size of ours, but twice as quick, his navigator reported. And they're coordinating perfectly while we can't even talk to our own squadrons. But the worst shock came when human reinforcements began arriving. Ships from species that had supposedly left the Dominion months ago. Vessels flying the flags of civilizations the Dominion had never heard of. A fleet that seemed to grow larger by the hour. Commander Nam Dongwoo led the human counterattack that would become legendary throughout the galaxy. Instead of just defending human space, his forces pushed deep into Dominion territory. They moved so fast that alien commanders couldn't respond before human ships were already past their defenses. Kepler offensive is complete. He reported to General, 3 Dominion fortress systems secured, enemy garrisons surrendering without resistance. Outstanding, O replied. How are the liberated populations responding? They're cheering, Dongwoo said with amazement. The local species had been under Dominion control for so long they forgot what freedom looked like. They're asking to join the Human Alliance. On Nexus Prime, the Dominion Council met in emergency session. Around the Great Circular Chamber, alien representatives spoke in panicked voices. Their mighty fleet was being destroyed. Their territory was being invaded. Their authority was crumbling. How do we stop them? Demanded the representative from the Hive Collective. We can't, replied the Crystalline Federation's ambassador. We created this problem when we treated humans as inferiors. Now they're showing us what they're really capable of. You're talking like the war is already lost, screeched a bird-like alien from the Talon Empire, isn't it? Asked the Crystalline ambassador quietly. Look at the reports. In 1 year, humans built a civilization that surpasses anything we achieved in centuries. They've created alliances we never imagined. They've developed technology we can't match. And they've proven that our way of ruling through fear and dominance doesn't work anymore. Dr. Yoon Taemin stood in his laboratory watching test results that would change the galaxy forever. The prototype wormhole generator was working perfectly. Instant travel across galactic distances was no longer theory. It was reality. We can move entire fleets from one side of human space to the other in seconds, Dr. Choi Hunwoo reported excitedly. The Dominion's advantage in numbers becomes meaningless when we can concentrate our forces anywhere instantly. And the other applications? Taemin asked. We can evacuate entire planets in hours if needed. We can explore distant galaxies. We can even... Choi paused, checking his calculations again. We can detect and track objects moving between galaxies, including objects that might be approaching from outside our local cluster. Taemin understood immediately. The ancient warning about the silence was no longer just historical curiosity. With this technology, they might be able to see the threat coming and prepare to meet it. Admiral Park Mira received the surrender of the Dominion's remaining fleet in the Vega system. Around her, alien ships hung powerless in space, their crews confused and demoralized. The invasion that was supposed to crush human resistance had instead become the final proof that the old galactic order was dead. Attention Dominion commanders, she broadcast. Your ships are disabled, but your crews are safe. We will arrange for your return to Dominion space. But understand this, the age of rule by intimidation is over. The galaxy belongs to all who live in it, not just those who claim to be strongest. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Bai Seong-ho read reports from across the battlefield. The Dominion invasion force was destroyed. 17 Dominion worlds had declared independence. The human alliance now controlled more territory than the Dominion itself. But the most important message came from explorer Lim Jae-hyun, who was deep in the ruins of the ancient civilization. Ambassador Kang Dae-ho walked through the same hallway, where his long journey had begun 18 months ago. But everything was different now. The council chamber on Nexus Prime had been rebuilt. The old circular arrangement with the Zephyrians looking down from their high throne was gone. In its place sat a simple round table where all species met as equals. Today, Dae-ho wasn't here as a petitioner begging for scraps. He was here as the elected chairman of the Galactic Alliance, representing 43 species who had chosen cooperation over domination. The first session of the Free Galactic Council will now begin, he announced to the assembled delegates. Around the table sat representatives from across the galaxy, humans, former Dominion species, and civilizations that had been hiding in the outer regions for centuries. Even Hegemarch Vorthak was there, though he no longer held his old title. The Zephyrian Empire had collapsed, replaced by the Democratic Zephyrian Republic. Vorthak now served as an elected representative, humbled but not broken. We gather today not as rulers and subjects, Dae-ho continued, but as neighbors sharing the same stars. Our first order of business is the threat that faces us all. Dr. Yoon Taemin rose from his seat, activating a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. The image showed the galaxy with a dark cloud approaching from the void between star clusters. The entity we call the Silence will reach our galaxy in 8 months, Taemin announced. According to ancient records, it has destroyed 17 civilizations across multiple galaxies. But this time will be different. This time, we're ready. On the edge of human space, engineer Ko Jin-woo oversaw the construction of the largest project in galactic history. The Guardian Station stretched across an entire star system, its massive generators drawing power from the system's sun itself. Construction is ahead of schedule, he reported to Admiral Park Mira. The ancient plans were incredibly detailed, but our engineers have improved the design by 30%. Park Mira looked at the massive structure taking shape around them. Thousands of ships from dozens of species worked together, building something that no single civilization could have created alone. The Dominion could never have built this, she observed. No, Jinwoo agreed. They would have argued for years about who got to control it. We're building it together because we all understand that survival matters more than pride. In his laboratory on Earth, Dr. Choi Hyun-woo made the final adjustments to the most powerful computer ever created. The Guardian weapon required calculations so complex that even human artificial intelligence needed help. The quantum processors are online, he announced to his team. We're integrating AI systems from 17 different species. Each one thinks differently, but together they can solve problems none of them could handle alone. It was the perfect symbol of how the galaxy had changed. Instead of one species trying to dominate all others, Different civilizations were combining their unique strengths to face a common threat. Explorer Lim Jae-hyun stood in the ruins of the ancient city, where he had first found warning about the silence. But he wasn't alone. Teams of archaeologists and scientists from across the galaxy worked alongside him, uncovering secrets that had been hidden for millennia. "We found the final piece," announced a Crystalline Federation researcher, her crystal body glowing with excitement. "The activation codes for the Guardian network. But there's something else." She led Jae-hyun to a chamber deep beneath the city. On the walls were carvings showing the last battle between the ancients and the silence. "They didn't just build one Guardian," she explained. "They built dozens spread across the galaxy. But they were never activated." "Why not?" Jae-hyun asked. "Because they couldn't work together," replied a Hive Collective scholar. "Each species wanted to control the network themselves. By the time they realized they needed to cooperate, it was too late." Jae-hyun stared at the carving showing the destruction of a civilization that had been even more advanced than today's galaxy. "They had the technology to win, but they lost because they couldn't unite." "That won't happen to us," he said firmly. "We've already learned to work together." Captain Lee Soo-jin commanded the Deep Space Early Warning Network, humanity's eyes and ears watching for the silence's arrival. Her ships patrolled the void between galaxies using the most advanced sensors ever built. "Contact," her sensor officer announced. "Large object approaching from galactic north. It matches the ancient descriptions." Soo-jin looked at her screens and felt her blood run cold. The silence wasn't just big. It was enormous, a structure the size of a solar system, dark and twisted, moving through space like a cancer. "Send the alert to all Alliance forces," she ordered. "The silence has arrived." Across the galaxy, warning signals flashed on every inhabited world. But there was no panic. For months, every species had been preparing for this moment. Military fleets moved to defensive positions. Civilian populations evacuated to protected zones. The Guardian Station powered up its reality-bending weapons. General Oh Kyung-min coordinated the largest military operation in galactic history from his command ship. Around him, displays showed the positions of 10,000 vessels from 43 different species. "All fleets report ready," his aide announced. "Dominion forces?" Oh asked. "The Zephyrian Republic has contributed their entire navy," came the reply. "Even Vorthak is commanding a squadron personally." Oh nodded with respect. Whatever their past differences, the former enemies were now fighting on the same side. Admiral Bae Young-ho led the first wave of ships that would attempt to slow the silence's advance. As they approached the massive entity, his sensors revealed something horrifying. The dark structure wasn't just a weapon, it was a graveyard. Scanning the outer shell, his science officer reported, "I'm detecting the remains of hundreds of civilizations. Ships, cities, entire planets all absorbed into that thing. It doesn't just destroy," Shung-ho realized. "It consumes. It takes everything a civilization has built and makes it part of itself." But he also noticed something the ancient records hadn't mentioned. The silence was old and tired. For millions of years it had been consuming civilizations, but each victory had changed it. It was no longer just a weapon. It was a corrupted amalgamation of everything it had destroyed. "All ships maintain distance," he ordered. "We're not here to destroy it. We're here to buy time for the Guardian network to activate." Intelligence Chief Won Min-ji coordinated the galaxy's defense from her command center on Earth. Information flowed to her from across known space as every species contributed to the fight. The Hive. Collectives mathematical. Predictions were correct, she reported to the Alliance Council. The silence moves in predictable patterns. "We can channel it toward the Guardian Station." "Casualties?" asked Ambassador Daeho. "Minimal so far," Minji replied. "Admiral Sung-ho's forces are using hit-and-run tactics to guide it along the path we want. But it's learning. Each attack teaches it more about our capabilities." On the Guardian Station, engineer Ko Jinwoo made final preparations for the most important moment in galactic history. The ancient weapon was ready, but it required something the original builders had never achieved: perfect cooperation between every species in the galaxy. "All power grids show green," he announced. "AI systems from 43 species are fully integrated. We're ready for activation." But the weapon required more than technology. It required a level of trust and coordination that the ancients had never managed. Every species had to surrender control of their part of the network to the collective whole. Dr. Yoon Taemin stood at the activation console, his hand hovering over the controls that would fire the Guardian weapon. Around him, representatives from every Alliance species stood ready to give their authorization. "The silence is approaching optimal range," reported the targeting computer. "All systems are synchronized, awaiting final authorization from all Alliance members." One by one, each species gave their consent. Humans, Zephyrians, Crystalline Federation, Hive Collective, and dozens of others. Former enemies standing together as one people. "All authorizations received," Taman announced, firing the Guardian network. Across the galaxy, massive installations came online simultaneously. Reality itself seemed to bend as the ancient weapon activated. Space twisted around the silence, creating a prison of pure energy that nothing could escape. The entity that had destroyed countless civilizations found itself trapped, unable to move or feed. For the first time in millions of years, the silence was silent, but the victory came with a cost. The Guardian network burned out after its single use, destroyed by the massive energies it had channeled. The galaxy was safe, but the weapon that had saved it was gone forever. Ambassador Deho stood before the Galactic Council as news of the victory spread across all inhabited worlds. The silence was contained, locked away where it could never harm another civilization. "Today we proved that no threat is too great when free peoples stand together," he announced. "We didn't win because any one species was superior to the others. We won because we recognized that our differences make us stronger, not weaker." In the months that followed, the galaxy continued to change. The old Dominion territories were reorganized into democratic federations.